Kiona Robinson, student number u25665694, BSc Human Physiology, Genetics and Psychology. Argumentative presentation based on the article The Dark Side of CRISPR, written by Sandy Sufyan and Rosemary Garland Thompson. CRISPR, editing genes, ignoring ethics. AI statement. This presentation has made use of AI tools and chatbots such as ChatGPT and Gemini to help reorganize ideas, summarize research, check grammar, and improve writing skills. For example, providing synonyms for overused words and reconstruction of convoluted sentences, etc. Is an article based on the immune system type system called CRISPR and its medical relevance and ethical concerns, and was published in the Scientific American on the 16th of February 2021. CRISPR stands for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats and is a DNA sequence family found in prokaryotic or unicellular organisms and serve as an immune system to eliminate unwanted intruders. This research paper is relevant to my degree as CRISPR is used with genes and can even cause physiological and even psychological changes in people and unborn fetuses, which include all three of my majors. CRISPR has two main applications. The first is treatment of disease, which is rarely contested, and the second is the cutting off of genes that are deemed defective or atypical. The second use of CRISPR is where the test of morality comes into play. Where is the line drawn? Who decides which genes are not good enough? And what are the long-term effects and consequences that these genetic scissors could lead to? This is the main argument of the text, the ethical dilemma that CRISPR poses, and the worry that people with genetic differences will end up being eradicated, and CRISPR is just a new way for eugenics to enter our society. Accuracy. This article has made reference to other research papers and shown different perspectives from other people with expertise in this specific field. It also provides examples which help the reader to fully understand what the consequences of gene editing could be, as well as showing what the future could hold. This shows that this article is well researched and accurate. Purpose. The article highlights the ethical concerns and other issues surrounding CRISPR and its related technology. It provides a critical perspective and a first-hand insight into how people with genetic differences could be even further marginalized than what they already are. This is done to bring awareness to CRISPR and the effects that it could have on someone and the lack of knowledge surrounding long-term effects and plans that may occur. Conclusion. This article is credible and well thought out. It provides knowledgeable insight into the topic of CRISPR and is backed up by other research that has been done. It is an article directed to the general public and lacks extremely technical jargon that would make it difficult for its audience to understand and relate with. The argument in this text is that CRISPR is an unethical act where scientists choose to edit specific genes that don't meet the desired requirements out of the gene pool, and that this gene cutting will lead to the gradual elimination of individuals who have genetic differences. This claim is supported by the fact that scientists and the public see abnormalities as lesser than, not needed, and something to get rid of, while the individuals themselves see it as a fundamental part of who they are. Another issue in the matter is the fact that gene editing diminishes diversity. To have a process whereby anything different is eradicated, it will eventually reduce uniqueness and variability between one person to another. As said in the article, all members of a community contribute to its welfare by existing in their individual distinctiveness. What the article makes is that CRISPR will cause a major reduction in diversity and a beginning of engagement in velvet eugenics, wherein everything not inherently perfect will be cut out, and in turn, a new race of designer babies and flawless humans will arise. This can lead to much greater issues, such as a despise for diversity. This is already being seen in the rise of social media and how everyone is molding themselves to become the same cookie-cutter person. With the chance to edit our DNA and genetics in order to not be different, this dystopian reality will grow even more. Eugenics itself arises from the thought that certain traits and genetic characteristics are undesirable. Eugenics is the set of beliefs and practices aimed to improve the genetic quality of the human race. Exactly what CRISPR is planning to do. And it is largely discredited and viewed as an immoral approach to genetics due to the unethical practices and moral implications. This source confirms CRISPR's moral implications, the article discussed, and even provides a more detailed explanation with examples of eugenics, namely in World War I and II, where eugenics was infamously the reason behind the Holocaust and its atrocities on non-members of the Aryan race, specifically Jewish people. As an option to eradicate genes that have a potential risk of developing a genetic condition that leads to a life of misery, insinuates that those who are disabled or who have genetic differences cannot make their own impact, and that their worth as a person and how they should live has already been decided by someone else, without having their own chance to experience their own life. The evidence that the authors provide come from first-hand experiences. They have experienced the exclusion that comes with having a genetic difference. Sufyan, living with cystic fibrosis, otherwise known as CF, and Garland Thompson, a form of syndactyly. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder that affects the cells that make mucus, sweat, and digestive juices. In people with CF, a changed gene causes these secretions to become sticky and thick. The secretions block organs, specifically the lungs and pancreas. Syndactyly is the medical definition for having webbed digits, fingers or toes, which is a common genetic difference, and there are many different forms of syndactyly and can range from being simple to extremely complex. Both of these genetic disorders can be considered extreme or debilitating enough to be quote-unquote removed from the gene pool, which can lead to unknown consequences and a changed life that neither Garland Thompson nor Sufyan asked for. Both women are excelling in their career fields and life in general, and use their disability to learn and grow about new things. When CRISPR is used in such a way to excise rather than to treat genetic differences, it provokes an ableist way of thinking, that people who are disabled or who have genetic differences are inherently less than, and that the individuals are biologically inferior. It also makes these genetic differences the first thing noticed about someone else, and the followed reaction of sympathy, and the assumption that the individual is struggling or unhappy with their life. This leads to the mindset that all people with genetic differences, etc., must be pitied and are weak or need somebody else to save them, or that their whole life revolves around their condition. All the arguments in this article are linked to supporting evidence found in the article's hyperlinks to other web pages, first-hand examples, and other sources. The arguments are well structured and contain all necessary facts while still remaining relevant to the general public. Agreement with the text. According to bioengineer Stanley Key, it is already said that CRISPR is no longer just used for research and has already become a discipline, driving force, and a promise to solve long-standing challenges. This insinuates that living with an abnormality or a difference is a challenge needing to be fixed, which not only amplifies harmful ableist views that have already been spoken of, but drives the perspective that diversity is not valuable and needs to be eradicated. This happens when diversity is classified into good and bad, or helpful or harmful. Where is the line drawn? What is good diversity, and when does something start to slip over into being bad? Classification can lead to dire consequences and an extreme segregation that has already been seen in the past and even in the modern world today in regards to racism. This has already been seen happening in Iceland. There are no more, or very little, children with Down syndrome. This is said to have been achieved through a version of eugenics and the forceful elimination of the weak from society, where mothers were given the option of genetic screening and then abortion of the child if they had Down syndrome. This situation seems eerily similar to great injustices such as the Holocaust and racism and slavery, etc. Another issue that is found with CRISPR is that it is not mentioned in the article relates to distribution and equity. Will CRISPR be made available to everyone, or will it be controlled by the wealthy? Billions of dollars will be invested into CRISPR, and to cover costs, its price will be exorbitant, making this technology inaccessible to the general population. People are debating on the incentives behind CRISPR. Is it truly going to be a type of genetic medicine, or is it just another strategy to make money and profit off of people's insecurities and almost animalistic need for acceptance into society? That motive of affiliation is one of the basic needs of humanity, as it stems back into when early humans lived, hunted, and stayed with each other in almost packs. This was necessary for survival, and if the rest of the pack didn't accept you, the chance of survival alone was next to none. To be made in accordance with the adverse effects of CRISPR is the disregard for genetic diversity and how it protects us. Long-term effects of CRISPR are unknown, and the possibility that it could cause adverse effects is very high. Eliminating certain genetic variations will reduce this diversity and make the population more susceptible to diseases and environmental changes. For example, the removal of the DARC gene variant, which increases susceptibility to HIV, also provides protection against malaria. In conclusion, I support the argument that the use of CRISPR to eliminate genetic differences is fundamentally unethical. The pursuit of genetic perfection through gene editing reflects a troubling shift towards modern eugenics, one that devalues diversity and reinforces ableist ideologies. By prioritizing genetic traits deemed desirable, we risk marginalizing and erasing individuals who do not conform to arbitrary biological norms. As illustrated through the lived experiences of Sufjan and Garland Thompson, genetic differences are not flaws to be fixed, but integral aspects of human identity and resilience. The potential consequences of this technology's social inequality, loss of genetic diversity, and the commodification of human life far outweigh its supposed benefits. CRISPR, if misused, threatens to reshape humanity based on exclusion rather than inclusion, and this is a threat that must be avoided at all costs. The following references have been used in my research article and presentation and have been presented in the LST 110 guideline style. Thank you for listening to my argumentative presentation.